Hello. So today I want to talk a little bit about emotional eating. Um, a lot of times I'm asked, is emotional eating okay? Is it okay to eat to make myself feel better? And my response is, it depends. So a lot of people use food to self-medicate. Food stimulates pleasure pathways in the brain. It can make us feel good, even if that feel good's only for a short period of time. Food is legal. Food is in abundance, so you can really have access to a wide variety. Um, and sometimes food is just a part of who we are, our culture. Or maybe there's certain foods that when we have them, there's an emotional tie to them. Maybe it's, desserts that your mother or your grandmother always made and you just grew up eating, right? So there are a lot of emotional associations with food. And when I'm asked, is it okay to emotionally eat? My response is yes, unless when you're doing it, you find that you're doing it in excess. So you're eating a lot more than you should. When you're consuming food, it's kind of outside of your control. So you don't feel like you're in control of the choices that you're making. You're unable to stop once satisfied. So like you kind of continue to eat beyond a appropriate amount, and then it's really when this food ends up being the only way that you can cope or deal with an emotion. So like an example of emotional eating would be one that I deal with regularly is stress. Where people are stress eaters. When something goes wrong, maybe it's a tough day at the office, or maybe they have a stressful home life, they tend to eat their emotions. Like eating is how they deal with their stress. And there are several other emotions that could cause us to choose food to make us feel better. Maybe it's loneliness, maybe it's tiredness, maybe you're a mother who's up all night with her kids and needs to pick me up, and you turn to food to give you that big boost in energy. Maybe it's any type of emotion. Okay. So really the way that I want to combat this is going to be with two exercises. So before I describe those, I want to also describe one other form of emotional eating. So it's a little bit different than eating just based on feelings, but it's once you eat a specific or a certain type of food, you then feel a certain way. So an example of that alternative form of emotional eating would be, hey, I just ate this food and now I feel guilty or very upset with my choice. Okay. So those are two ways of that one of us could be an emotional eater, and that's what we're really going to be focusing on now. So the two exercises that I want you to focus on are going to be, the first is going to be keeping a emotional food journal. So what that means is a lot of times when we consume certain food, we don't always realize what emotions trigger our wanting or our reason for eating. So like you may realize, oh, hey, when I'm, the days that I have bad food days are really the days that I'm most stressed. Like, I get a call from my boss, X, Y, or Z went wrong. I need to escalate this problem. Now I'm skipping lunch and I'm stressed and I'm eating, and whatever the case is, right? We can start to identify what emotions cause us to make poor choices. So this food journal will allow us to do this. So what I want you to do is for the next couple days, and you can continue to do this beyond a couple days if this is something that you see valuable or something that really helps you start to identify your reasons for certain food selections, is I want you to spend the next couple days and I want you to write down your why for everything that you have. So, when we're it could be I had breakfast, I had eggs and whatever, why I was hungry, I woke up, and that was the best choice that I could come up with. But I want you to kind of see if when you're gravitating towards these foods that are less than ideal for us, if there is an association, like, hey, I ate this because I was extremely stressed out, or I was really sad, or whatever it is, so that we can start to see these connections. That's one way that helps us change our associations with food to make better choices. The other one that I really like is setting like a timer, or like what I call like a food timer. So a lot of times when we're eating as a result of emotions, we're not really mindful of what we're having. So maybe, you find yourself upset about something, you go grab a bag of chips, and like you finish the bag of chips and you look down and you're like, oh my gosh, I ate all of that, or like, I didn't even realize I was eating. Like, it was just an impulse reaction to how I was feeling. So this food timer is something that I'm going to have you set. It's going to be for 5 minutes, and during that 5 minutes, all I really want you doing is thinking about why you've picked the food that you're about to eat, and if in fact you need it. Asking yourself, like, hey, am I really hungry? Why am I choosing this? Is there something else I can do to make me feel the way that I'm looking for this food to make me feel? And the cool part about this exercise is sometimes it'll prevent you from having that unnecessary food item. If at the end of 5 minutes you feel like that's still the best choice for you, then you're gonna go and have that food option. But what it really forces us to do is be a little bit more mindful of our choice instead of just kind of eating impulsively. I want you to practice this for the next couple days. If you'd like to share with me, hey, yeah, that's me, I'm a stress eater, or yeah, that's me, I eat when I'm overly tired, or whatever the case is, so that we can really start to identify and kind of come up with other mechanisms. So like, what I want you to do is, in addition to these exercises, I want you to also come up with some alternative coping mechanisms. So example, if you're a stress eater, what other alternatives could you come up with to help you manage your stress? Maybe it's, hey, if I find myself stressed, during the workday, I'm gonna stand up and I'm gonna step outside and take a 5-minute walk. Maybe it's, I'm gonna have a cup of tea as opposed to eating something. Maybe it's, I'm going to listen to some relaxing music. Maybe if you're stressed at the end of the day, you're gonna choose a bubble bath as opposed to, eating a whole carton of ice cream. Whatever the case is, I want you to start to identify if in fact you are this emotional eater, and then also identify behaviors that you can use instead of food to help you deal with those emotions. If you'd like to share anything, I'd love to hear it.